Seeing all those officers lined up like that in the courtroom was crazy. You know what went through my mind? What went through my mind was if an actual crime was being committed. If somebody was a victim, to maybe domestic violence, a robbery, or a homicide, that majority of the police officers were in the courtroom to intimidate one person that possibly could be innocent. Let's be real. The fact that information is out that they are possibly withholding important evidence is crazy. See, when it comes to black people in a lot of these racist states, they are guilty until proven innocent. Don't listen to what they tell you until innocent until proven guilty. Will they hold a man without bond and they don't give him his due process? But we just seen police officers in Memphis. We seen police officers involved in Robert Brooks' case. We seen them get bond. We seen them go home, be able to spend time with their families while waiting for trial. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? So you have to remember, police officers are all in a fraternity. It's a brotherhood, okay? They're Freemason. So they're gonna have each other's back, even when one officer is in the wrong. How many videos have you seen where a police officer is overly aggressive and there's another police officer that's kind of seemed like he's kind of cool, laid back, and he says nothing? He doesn't say, hey, don't do that, that's not right. Because regardless, they took an oath. They took an oath that the public doesn't know about, that they have to have each other's back, even if that other officer is in the wrong. That's just how it goes. And you know what's even worse about it, that we already know, is that, especially if you're a homeowner, you pay taxes. Our taxes go to the police officer. So we're pretty much paying them to patrol and, run the streets incorrectly. Due process incorrectly. We are paying for this. Pretty much, a lot of black people are pretty much paying their oppressor. And it's messed up. It shouldn't be that way. But what I really want to talk about is, if there really was a female driver and she died on the scene from her injuries, it's gonna come to light. I just can't believe we haven't seen any footage. We know there's cameras downtown, in all downtown areas. There's cameras at a lot of traffic lights. A lot of people have Ring doorbells nowadays. The fact that we haven't seen actual footage from the crash is crazy. That's what makes me think there was another driver, that he was not driving that vehicle. Because if he was the one driving the vehicle and he actually ran over the officer himself, we would have been seen footage. They would have blocked out the officer's body being ran over, but we would have seen footage. That's how I know there was another driver. It's going to come out at some point in time. And also, he would not be filing a lawsuit, a civil suit, if he didn't know he was innocent. Now, the point that the prosecutor is going to make, that the state is going to make, is that he had the lady. If it does find out that there was a female driver, that he told her to run over that police officer. But that's he said, she said stuff. There's really no evidence, because if the lady was a driver, she passed away, she can't take the stand. You can't get a statement from her. So it's going to be all based on assumption, right? If they say, well, the police officers killed his son a few hours ago or a day ago, and then how is it that a random police officer gets killed and he's in the car? He told her to do that. That's what they're going to say, but they can't prove that. Now, what they can do in trials, they can bring that up, and the judge can either say, ignore what you just heard, or the judge can let the jury hear that. Now, depending on what type of jury he gets, if he gets an all-white jury, if the jury is biased against black people or against people who maybe possibly have committed crimes against police officers, if these jurors maybe have police officers in their family, all this is going to come into play, and what the judge says, what the judge allows them to hear. And this one thing I don't like when we talk about what the judge says, ignore what's heard, right? You ever see a trial, right, and the defense says something and the judge says ignore those things? How is a person supposed to ignore those things? You get what I'm saying? Like, if you're in a case where somebody murders somebody and they say, well, this person has threatened his mom multiple times to kill her before he killed his girlfriend, and they say ignore that nobody's going to be able to ignore that if they have to determine whether this person is guilty or innocent of murder. They're going to have that in the back of their minds. Well, he was threatening his mom most of his life, and now he's accused of killing his girlfriend. I think he always had these killer tendencies in his mind. This is what the jurors are going to say, regardless whether the judge said ignore that. You can't ignore you can't ignore possible evidence that can help determine your decision. It just, you can't. So all this stuff is going to play an effect when it comes to this case. But my theory is, obviously he was hurt by seeing the cops kill his son. His son gets shot in the back, right? He could have been in the car as a passenger, and whoever that female was could have been angry. She could have said, we need to get back. We cannot let them get away with this. She could have seen that retired police officer in the crosswalk, and she could have just took her anger out on him. It does not mean that he told her to do that. She could have done that on her own. Again, at the end of the day, it's all speculation. But what is fact, what is probably fact and will come out, is that he was not the driver. He was passenger. So this man should have not only have been given a bond, but he shouldn't have been charged. He shouldn't have been charged. How many high-speed police chases do we watch where there is maybe, let's say, like a girlfriend and a passenger, and the boyfriend was the one evading police officers? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna let the female go. When we watch from the camera of the helicopter in the sky, sometimes you see them pull the driver out of the car, the boyfriend, they pull the girlfriend out of the car, they make them both get on the ground and put them both in handcuffs, but they usually let the passenger go. They ask the passenger, oh, did you tell him to stop? What was he saying in the vehicle? Usually the passenger says, I was telling him to stop, I was telling him to pull over, but he wasn't listening, I was so scared. They're going to let the passenger go because the passenger was not the driver. They were not in the car with the driver and the passenger. They can only hold accountable the driver. The passenger is considered held hostage at that point. Unless both of those people were in the car and they just got done, maybe somebody got shot or maybe a robbery, then both of them are going to be held accountable. But if it's just something where they're evading the police or something like that, because the police officers want to pull them over, maybe the boyfriend or driver has warrants and he just takes off, doesn't pull over, they're gonna more than likely let that passenger go, especially if that passenger doesn't have a record, doesn't have warrants, gave a statement. But yeah, man, it really didn't sit right with me seeing all those police officers in the courtroom, man, trying to intimidate that man like that. Also, we got to talk about the fact that they didn't give him any medical care. You could see on camera he was hurt. He was walking very slow. His body was in pain. Again, let's go back to the police body cam videos. How many times do we see them arrest or pull over a suspect, pull him out and say, do you need medical attention? Before that suspect goes to jail, he's taken to the hospital. First, the EMTs arrive to the scene, they check him out, and they say, well, I think he needs to go to the hospital. If his injuries are serious enough, they take him to the hospital. He may get handcuffed to the bed, or a police officer may be in the what do they call it? In the viewing room or in the hospital room with them until everything's over. Then they arrest him and take him to jail, whatever. But he's supposed to get medical care. This dude was in a car accident. If he was not the driver, and there was actually a female driver who died, she died, he survived. He's obviously had some injuries. He should have been pushed in a wheelchair. There's no way they should have been just walking him like he was fine and okay. So they ignored his injuries. They didn't give him a fair due process to get bond. They intimidated him with all those police officers in the courtroom. And they're just letting him sit. They're just letting him sit in jail. So I'm with him on filing this civil suit. And I hope he wins, man. I hope he wins every single penny, every single dime, every single dollar. If he was not the driver. Again, all we can do is assume and say, well, he probably told her to hit the cop. But we weren't there. We don't know. Only people that know is him and God. Excuse me. Those are the only people that know. But the real reason why I'm making this video, man, again, is because when it comes to a lot of these racist states, these racist towns, man, black people are guilty until proven innocent. They do not get a fair process that our other counterparts do. It's not fair. It's not fair. And also, again, seeing all those officers, in that courtroom trying to intimidate him when they should have been on the streets, patrolling the streets. Maybe they could have saved somebody. And if somebody knows, if somebody watches this video and you're from Cincinnati, Ohio, or you have any information you can find out, comment down below. Let me know if the day that all those officers were in court was somebody being attacked. Were there a lot of 911 calls? Because those officers weren't in area. They would have had to leave the courthouse, run to their vehicles, and try to save somebody that was being robbed or beaten up or stabbed or attacked or hurt. And they may not have made it in time because they want to stand in court like idiots for one person who more than likely is innocent. And who is a hurt father who just watched his son get shot in the back by police officers. When have we ever seen 40, 50 police officers staying in court with a victim? When? They don't deserve support? So victims of heinous crimes, of serious crimes, they don't deserve support? Single mothers, grandparents that watch their young ones get innocently killed, they don't deserve support from police officers to intimidate the suspect? It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. I forget the exact area, but that 10-year-old boy that got ran over by that racist white dude in the pickup truck, I guarantee you officers will not be in court to support that 10-year-old boy's family. That 10-year-old boy was outside playing, just driving his little ATV or whatever, and he got ran over and killed. And that white man got out his truck to pick up his mirror. I'm sorry, but it gets me angry. He's a little boy. You're a grown man. You make a mistake or an accident, and you run over and kill a 10-year-old boy, and you get out your truck to pick up your mirror, not to check on that boy, to make sure he's okay? You could have, and it's still wrong, but he could have left the scene and called 911. I just hit somebody. I left, but I don't know. Just check on, make sure he's okay. I'm gone. You couldn't even do that? How inhumane. And I guarantee you, again, officers would not stand in court to support that family. That 10-year-old boy had his whole life ahead of him. That white man done lived most of his life. He done been racist with those Confederate flags on his lawn. He done his years of drinking. He done graduated high school. He done screwed his favorite blonde sweetheart at prom. He done got his rocks off. He done laughed and joked with his friends. Honky tonk, badonka donk, riding through the mud in his Jeep or truck, mudding. Cookouts. You know how those white boys do. But that black boy was 10 years old. He didn't get to experience none of that. He didn't even get to experience his first kiss, his first girlfriend. He didn't even get to experience his family being proud, seeing him graduate. How fucking disgusting. Enough is enough, man. Free this man. If he is innocent, if he was not the driver, if he is passenger, free this man. I hope he gets paid every dollar, man. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace and love.